I'm Steve. This is Fran. Today, we've got a pretty broad topic for you. GE versus Whirlpool. Where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, so definitely two very big brands with a lot of brands within the brand. So a lot to kind of cover here. We'll kind of go category by category. Let's start with refrigeration.
First of all, they both have service departments. Unlike most of our comparisons where neither one have service. Yep, but you do have to check an area to see which one has better service. Here's a stat for you. When Whirlpool bought Maytag, they owned 55% of the French door market, meaning 55% of every French door sold in the United States went to a Whirlpool brand, whether it was Whirlpool, Maytag, Mana, KitchenAid, you know, wow. 55%. Now it's what, 22%, 25, whatever the stats are. So, because in my mind, they haven't changed from that fridge. You know, I once talked to a Whirlpool brand manager like 10 years ago, and he goes, "We don't believe technology will sell in a fridge." And that time Samsung and LG were coming up, and I go, "Well, do you know who you're competing against?" I mean, but that's the problem with this company, with Whirlpool, is if you want to talk about category by category, I see a lack of investment from that, and that's why they've been so outpositioned by pretty much everybody, including GE. GE's got any number of refrigerators, you know, the cafe with the Keurig coffee dispenser. They have a number of different counter depths, freestanding and everything else that are certainly worth buying.
Yeah.
New technology, different colors. I just think GE's better in this one by almost default.
Yeah, no question. I think that percentage, that decline in market share, it speaks to the innovation, especially in a category like this. Like you said, GE. With the Whirlpool brands, you really have to step up to the higher end of even the KitchenAid to even get things like, you know, metal interiors and better lighting.
Two evaporators.
Whereas GE, I mean, you said, you know, you have the K-Cup machine, you have the hot water. They have really nice, even on like the profile in the lower ends, really nice ramp up entire backlit on the whole back wall of the refrigerator. So really nice features everywhere from lighting to the Keurig features and things like that. They just do a lot more and give you a lot more options for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, you know, Whirlpool, we're still talking about the single evaporator, single compressor, 20 cubic foot counter depth, where, you know, you have LG with their counter max, 27 cubic feet. Now you're still selling a 20 cubic foot at the same price. You know, Whirlpool needs to really change their in whatever brand we're talking about, you know, because all they've done is really relabeled the same fridge in KitchenAid, JennAir, Mana, whatever it is. So I would say almost by default, you're looking at GE.
Okay, so that category is going to go to GE. So let's talk about cooking, big category. So ranges, built-in cooking. So cooking in general, what do we think here?
Well, I think the Whirlpool products on the KitchenAid, JennAir, even the Whirlpool side, pretty good. You know, you get the bigger ovens. And you've got the, you know, got good BTU outputs on the KitchenAid JennAir side. It's decent. But, you know, again, we're not talking about anything spectacular. We're not talking about anything new. No new colors, no new styles. You know, we're not talking about the reduction very much. You're not talking about, you know, the cafe with the split oven, right? You know, that's a decent feature. You really don't have, I mean, it's better than their refrigerators, but only marginally so. I think if you're taking a look at really different, exciting product, really, if you're talking even wall ovens, ranges, again, for me, it's GE.
Yeah, and I think, you know, even when you get into a product category like built-in ovens and wall ovens, you know, I think KitchenAid makes decent product, the dual convection, you know, but nothing crazy. You know, you have like, even from aesthetically, you know, you have all the controls right there, right on the wall oven for you, whereas GE has invested into that technology where you have the 7-inch LCD, really sleek controls, menu guided cooking and things like that, where you just don't really get that at all with any of the Whirlpool brands. So here as well, I think KitchenAid makes a solid cooking product, just a real lack of innovation. I would lean towards GE here as well.
Yeah. Although, you know, the cooking on Whirlpool side isn't bad. They just need to, once again, reinvest.
Absolutely. Last category, let's talk about dishwashers.
Okay, let's talk about a category they did reinvest in, you know, finally. The KitchenAid dishwasher, great product. I like the M series. you know, with the split rack, the third level, you know, the filtration, it'll hold more. It's really a nice design. And if you don't want that, they have very inexpensive dishwasher, not very, but a more inexpensive dishwasher that's really quiet. I like the dishwasher series. That said, I think GE invested as well. You know, they've got the bottle washers, which turns out you don't really need a bottle wash. Everybody, you know, it seemed, I thought, wow, bottle wash, you know, sports bottles. But truth be told, everybody can wash a sports bottle with normal spray. You know, I like the silverware basket, but I just think KitchenAid in this one case, where they have reinvested, I do think I do think it's a better product.
Yeah, both American style dishwashers use that kind of traditional heated dry. I think KitchenAid, Whirlpool, those brands have really kind of done a nice job of actually building a lot of value into that dishwasher line. Like you said, you have that 39 decibel machine for really inexpensive at times at $7.99. Really good racking, third racks, have the Pro Dry in some of their models. So I think this is an area that Whirlpool, KitchenAid has done a really good job here with their dishwashers.
We're not forgetting about laundry, are we?
Let's go to laundry.
Here's another strange fact, right? Whirlpool had a handshake agreement with Kenmore, and for years, between Whirlpool and Kenmore, they basically own laundry in the United States. That's not the case today. I mean, it's barely the case. You know, we talk about innovations, and I believe that within 5 years, if not sooner, everyone's going to have a heat pump dryer because it's so much more efficient. It's ventless. I think builders are going to use it. I'm not sold yet on the combo washer and dryer, but GE has theirs through Profile. Again, we're talking about Whirlpool, which really makes a solid machine, but unspectacular. They need to reinvest in some of the new technologies that people want, or they'll be left behind. You know, you're talking about a company that owned it, now less so. I'm not sure whether I'd give the total category to GE, but I do think, you know, in terms of what people will be buying, if Whirlpool doesn't at least get into that area, I know they had a heat, everyone's going to say, oh, they had a heat pump, but you need to have a repairman get the lint out of it at one time. I do think GE is probably better. You know, they get the antimicrobial, you know, the mold stopping, you know, microban with the fan that hits. They said so you don't have the mold problems you do in some front loaders, so you can just open the door and solve that. Yeah. But I just think in terms of pricing and technology, I think people are buying more GE than Whirlpool.
Yeah, I think that really sums it up there. I think another area where the GE has really just been a lot more innovative than Whirlpool. You know, Whirlpool hasn't really introduced anything new into their laundry. You know, they have the automatic dispensers like they've had in the Whirlpool and the Maytag, but you know, that's kind of been out for a while now too. GE enhanced on that with the microban to kind of resist the mold and mildew that builds up on those at times. And they've just really kind of introduced a lot of new features with that. The sizing's a little bit wider on the GE. I think it's just overall probably a better machine too. And definitely in that all-in-one space has really kind of introduced that category. And we'll see if Whirlpool Maytag try to come out with a competitor there too at some point. But I think for right now, it's GE in that category.
Okay. Well, that's it. If you like these ranking videos, click the subscribe button to be notified first of future. And thanks for watching.